Hello everyone. In today's video we will continue with our skill tree. In the first video we focused on unlocking new melee combos. In this video we will add skills that increase health, increase mana regeneration, and upgrade our magical abilities. In order to do this we will need Unity, Game Creator, and the Stats module. Before we start, I would like to thank all of my Patreon supporters for the absolutely amazing support. The finished skill tree will also be available on Patreon. Now, before we start setting up our scene, I'd like to go through what we're actually doing here. So if I open up my skill tree, we will have health, magic, and damage. And in the magic tree, we have time with a little plus and another little plus. So what we're going to do here is we're going to upgrade our ability, so basically make it better. And here we're going to increase our health, increase our regeneration rate, and the only one that we're not going to set up is damage. I'd like to go over the whole damage system in a different video, and once we've set up a correct and better damage system, we'll use the skill tree to improve that as well. So let me pick up these orbs. And we have the same restrictions to all of these as we did with the melee combo. But once we click on health, we will see that our health bar has actually increased. So the maximum vitality is now higher. So that's a really simple stat change. The other change we are going to make is to slow motion. So if I play here, by default our slow motion is going to half time, but our player speed will actually still be the same. So it's more of a aid to help you think a bit faster, but doesn't actually really improve you. Now if we open up our tree here, and we're going to just grab the first one, and we're going to grab regeneration rate as well, you will see that mana regenerates a lot faster. Maybe a bit too fast, but it's just to show you how you can adjust these values. Now if I hit slow motion again, suddenly our movement speed is a lot higher, which is actually going to give us a big advantage in combat. Now let's turn off this ability, and we're going to open the last one, and that is completely going to exaggerate our ability here, but again it's just to demonstrate what we can do. So if I open it up now, our movement speed is so high that we can even jump like Superman pretty much. So let's set up our scene. So we're going to start off by making a few changes to a couple of our existing systems. So if you followed the superpower tutorial, then you will know how it works by default. So let's go to characters. We have our player, and in the powers tab we have slow motion. Now what I'm going to do in these actions, you will see this value. We're going to remove that and use a list variable, and it will just pick index 0. Now let's create that list variable, and I'm just going to group it inside of this just to make sure we can easily keep track of it, and just makes things slightly easier. There we go. And in here we're going to select number, hit save as well, and then the default value will be 5. Now 5 is the default value in general, which will basically not really allow us to go any faster. If you want to go a bit faster during slow-mo, change it to 6, but don't exaggerate the default value, as this is something we need to upgrade. So that's it for slow motion. So the first change. Next change we're going to make is with our regeneration. So we have attribute mana, and we're going to use a list variable as well. Again, index 0, and let's add that list variable. There we go. Again, number, save, and the first value will be 0.1. So that's exactly the same as the first one, no changes here. And we drag it in. So right now all of these things will function exactly the same as they did before, so no real changes here by default, except for slow motion actually really putting us in slow motion as well. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Now let's head over to our skill tree, turn that on. And wow, that's big. Cool, so there we have it. Now our combat tree is something we set up last time, and the easiest way is to actually, let's just duplicate this one and let's rename it to basic. You can rename it to whatever you want, obviously. I just keep it as basic because they're basic abilities. Let's rename this text to basic as well. There we go. And we're going to do the same again. Let's duplicate and we're going to put this to the other side. And how much difference was there here? So 439, let's keep it pretty similar. There we go. So same spacing, and let's rename this magic or superpowers or whatever you want to call it. There we go, magic. Now we're going to start off with this one. So the first one doesn't really change much. The first button is by default unlocked, and all we're going to do is really replace this image. Now I'm going to use the same image I used for the power bar, and there we go. And we have time. I'm going to make this a bit smaller, takes up the entire circle, and there we go. Perfect. So yeah, that's the first one, so really easy to set up. Now for the second one, we have these images, and if you remember correctly, the first one is a dark one and the second one is a light one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select both and select my new image, and this image is literally a photoshopped version of the first one, and I added a little plus. So nothing exciting, but yeah. So this will function the same. So the first one is the dark one and the second one is the white one, which, you know, shows us that it's unlocked. Cool. And our conditions are even going to be similar as well. So I'm going to keep the requirement of level 2 here, and I'm going to simply remove all of the actions here. So I'm just going to remove it all just to make sure I'm not confusing anything. So let's do set active, duplicate it, going to drag in the first one. So that's going to be turned off, and this one is going to be turned on. Pretty straightforward. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to variables and do variable add. So we're going to grab our list, and this is for our abilities. So let's look up that player, slow motion, and this variable. There we go. So let's drag that in. Going to do index here of 0, and the first value is going to do 8. So that's already makes us a lot faster, maybe even a bit too fast. Let's actually do 7, because I think the default ones were a bit exaggerated. So I'm going to do 7 here, which already makes us quite a bit faster compared to our enemies. So that's nice. And our third one here is going to, something I actually forgot in the introduction is to actually have a lock on that as well. It should actually be conditioned on this one. So let's actually keep that, and we're going to grab our two images here, do the same, drag in our upgraded, so time plus plus if you want, and these needed to be set to 80 just like the other ones, so I'm going to keep that the same. Now in our conditions, is image to active, and it goes to this one. That's actually perfect, so that's good. Then we just need to make sure we set that up with skill 2 as well, so we'll do that in a bit. And again, I'm just going to remove everything here just to make sure we're not confusing anything. I'm going to do set active 2 times yet again. There we go. Disable this one just like last time, and we're going to grab that same variable add list variable. I'm going to drag in the same one, index again, and I'm going to add a value of 10. Now in the introduction I had 11, which was even a bit faster, but you can add the values you want, obviously. So let's make sure this one actually sets this one active as well. So I'm going to go to conditions, duplicate this one, and we're going to deactivate our lock here, and we're going to turn on this one. Perfect. So we're actually improving upon what we saw in the introduction. Honestly, just forgot to do that really. So cool. So that's it for magic. That's all we really need to do here. And now we're going to set up our basic abilities. So let's grab our health icon. And this is just a random health icon, nothing spectacular going on here. There we go. For some reason, even though it is centered, it doesn't look centered when you look at it like this. So I'm just going to drag it down just a tiny bit. That looks better. And I'm going to duplicate it right now and then set this one inactive. And the first one will be the same dark gray as we see here. So let's grab that. There we go. So none of this will by default be active, so we're just going to keep it like this. Let's actually collapse our magic and just keep basic open just to make it easier. And we're going to add our call conditions here. There we go. Let's also create conditions. I'm going to drag these in the middle. This basically is the separator between before and after. Makes it easier for me. And in here we're going to add the same conditions. So stats value of the player level needs to be greater or equal than 2. And let's add some conditions. Again, the set active here. So first one and second one. And these are actually still called combat skills. Let's just call this health improve. Didn't even really look at that before. So health improve, and we have our 2 icons, and let's make sure this is off. I'm going to do change stat here. I'm going to grab vitality, and we're going to add 20. So the default vitality value is 100. So we're just going to add 20. And yeah, that's it. That's all we're going to do here. Now the second one, let's rename this straight away. Magic or mana regen. Now I could have improved the default mana as well. I'm not doing that, I'm doing regen on purpose just to show how you could tackle regeneration. That way you could, you know, improve upon this and set up health regeneration, for example, as well. So that's why we're doing different types here. Now I'm going to select these two images and replace them with the one that was supposed to represent magic. There we go, magic. Let's make this a bit smaller as well. So 80 and 80, there we go. So yeah, nothing new here. And I'm going to keep this, well no, I'm going to change this to 3. So we need to have at least a level of 3 before we can unlock this. No condition here, these are separate abilities, they have nothing to do with each other. So we don't need any conditions like with this lock. So the default will turn off this value. I'm going to remove that, this one, and there we go. So it will turn this one off and it will turn this one on, and that's what we want. That's the same but just in white. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do another attribute here, or no, variable, apologies, variable add, list variable, and we're going to go up. We can collapse the character player here. Going to go up and go to our on game start and grab that list variable for regeneration. Now the default value was 0.1 and I'm going to make this 0.2. Now 0.2 is actually quite high, it regens a bit fast, but at least it clearly demonstrates that this is working. And afterwards you can change values to whatever you prefer to have. So yeah, cool. We have mana regen. I'm already going to name this one, so let's name it damage increase button, but we're not going to increase anything as of yet. So reason for that is because I'm going to do a separate video on a damage system and we're not going to really address anything here. So I'm going to drag this one up, remove our lock. Again, these have no correlation whatsoever, and just going to replace this image with the damage increase one. There we go. Let's make this 80 as well. Perfect. But yeah, we're not setting anything up here yet. So when it comes to the conditions, I'm going to keep this to 4. Nothing needs to be active, and I'm going to remove all actions because we don't want anything to happen. So that looks pretty good. Just need to make sure in this one we kept everything correct, so we didn't set up anything else. No, we're good there. Now I've noticed one interesting thing while testing this is that even though it used to work completely fine, I've updated all of my modules, and for some reason slow motion doesn't actually reactivate when we use on start. So it works fine the first time, and then when the ability turns off, this is inactive again, and when it's set active again, for some reason it doesn't actually trigger the on start. So I think it's related to one of the updates to the modules, because it worked just fine before. But there's another one we can use as well. So we have on enable, and basically that functions the same. So when this one is enabled, it will run these actions, and that was the fix. I don't really know what changed here, but yeah, it's one of the updates changed this. So we need to adjust that. So there we go. And we have, I'm pretty sure we have everything set up right now. So let's actually give this a try and see what we missed, because there always is something. Okay, well, I should have turned that off from the start, but let's just make sure we can't actually select anything here. Oh, there's nothing there. But yeah, cool. That all still functions fine. Let's grab these. So I'm going to test slow motion right now. It's really, really slow. Our regeneration is still normal and our health is still normal. So let's open this up, turn on this one. This unlocks, so that's cool. And we're going to turn on health as well. And now that we press slow motion again, we will see our movement speed has increased. So we're no longer going the same speed as our enemies. So that's pretty nice. Now let's grab those orbs. There we go. Open up our skill tree again. Let's increase our regeneration and increase our slow time. So yeah, 0.2 is way too fast. That's okay. Anyway, it's full. And once we press this, now we're going really fast. Our health bar has increased as well. And yeah. Cool. All works like it should. Now, definitely the default values are a bit high here. So 0.2 makes magic abilities kind of OP if regeneration is that fast, but at least you know how to adjust the values, how you can change it, and our skill tree is working exactly as it should. So yeah, pretty cool. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please hit like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.